All right, I'm joined now from San Diego. They've been at the training camp all week. Haley Anderson and Catherine Vogt. Catherine is the open water head coach. Now, I know both of you really well. We live not too far from each other in Manhattan Beach, and I know that you have a hilarious story based on kind of the feeding process. So first of all, for those people who don't know, what is the feeding process like when it comes to a race that lasts 2 hours long?
It's like I like to think it's like a NASCAR pit stop where like all the swimmers come in to a feeding dock where their coaches are, and on the dock their coaches are holding. They have a really long stick, feeding stick with cup holders at the end, and you have your drink in it. So it's like Gatorade mixed with goos and something, whatever else you want in there.
Whatever I sneak in.
Yeah, sometimes she'll sneak in some extra caffeine,
Snacks, Oreos.
Yeah, I wish.
Okay, so how
So
many
we
times?
usually put at World Championships. We usually put an American flag on the feeding stick, so they're able to identify where we're at. A big part of open water, and I think a relationship with the athletes and the coaches, is communication.
Yep.
And so we're always talking and giving feedback and getting feedback from each other. So at nationals this past April, Haley and I decided, maybe we'll mix up the feed.
We'll try doing something new. Well, I normally feed at the end of the feeding dock. And so this time we decided, let's try doing it at the beginning.
Okay.
And so we actually really did not prepare for nationals this past April very much, because I got on the water and I was like, shoot, how many laps is it? And I totally forgot. Going into the first feed, I forgot, and I totally forgot we were supposed to do at the beginning of the feeding dock.
Yeah.
And I go to the end, and she's not there. And like she normally wears like a bright pink tank top, and she's not there. And I'm like,
oh no!
She
She throws her hands up in the air. I definitely heard a couple F-bombs. All the other coaches on the feeding dock are like, "Oh, Catherine, she's gonna be mad at you." So the whole time, then, like the next 10 minutes, I'm thinking, like replaying in my head, like, "Oh my gosh, wait a minute, what was I supposed to be where I am?" Like, I know I remember this is where we said I was supposed to be, and oh no. But I decided to hold my ground, stay where I was.
Meanwhile, that whole next stop, the next 10 minutes, I was like so mad at her. I was like, why was she not there? Like, where was she? Like, what was she thinking? And then after a while, I'm like, oh, no, we talked about that. She was right. I was wrong.
Okay.
So, yeah. First time she was right.
So first time, Catherine, do you have something to say about that?
Right, just the first time. No, but we kind of wanted to look at nationals as sort of like our 3 steps up to Rio too. It's like nationals was just sort of like, let's see where we're at, not take it too seriously. And then we went to Hungary in June right before pool trials. And that was really for the international competition. And Haley was great. She got second place. And then this is round 3.
I love it.
It's funny because people say like, they think like, oh, don't you get so bored during a 2-hour race? And like my little sister Jordan's here training with us, and like this is her first time really training like an actual like training some open water. And like I was telling her a few different things to try during one of our open water practices. I was like, stay on my feet, touch me, bug me, do all this stuff. And like she really realized then that like you actually have to focus a lot. Like, you can't, like, she's like, to stay on your feet and to draft off you and do this and then move around. Like, you really have to focus for, like, the whole time. And it's true. Like, people think, like, oh, do you get bored? I'm like, no, I'm constantly, my mind is constantly going on. I have to be uber focused the whole 2 hours, because if I'm not focused, I'll go off in la la land and, like, the wrong direction,
And I do think it's important to like train fast in a pool and get the, swim up a black line. That is important. But at the end of the day, it is racing, and you're not necessarily racing the clock. I mean, you are racing the people next to you.
Totally.
And it's managing all these different things happening within the 2 hours, and being able to, maybe trust your instinct or try different race strategies and things like that. So
well, exactly what you said. I mean, the race is 2 hours, and there's so many things that are happening within that. But then, I mean, the race really begins. I mean, how far out? Because you were talking about Haley and Sean before, how it's the finish. It's all about the finish.
Yeah, and so it's basically like an 8K of setting up for that last 2K.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's a great way to put it.
It gets that last, like, I mean, it's all hard. Don't get me wrong. The whole 10K is, like, difficult. But it's really an 8K of setting up for that last 2K, basically.
How did you guys get used to people? Because in swimming, you have your lane lines and it's just you in that lane. And obviously we train with other people in the lane, but
Yeah.
How did you get used to people touching your feet or being right next to you? Because I know that I would just like, give me my space.
I mean, it's definitely something you have to get comfortable with. Like, it's still like a learning process because like it's definitely about keeping your cool for the whole race, because like I had a race where I just got so frustrated and so flustered every time somebody hit me, every time somebody like elbowed me or pulled me back or touched my feet. And so that whole race, like it was 2 hours of just getting like frustrated and flustered. And so, and I ended up doing really bad. And so that race taught me to kind of just let it go, you know, like don't get upset, like keep your cool. It's going to happen. It's really hard to do physical contact on purpose. Like I've tried, trust me, it's not easy. It's actually harder than you think to elbow somebody.
Yeah.
So if it happens, I mainly think it's on accident.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. I think it's definitely something you have to get used to, and it's something that doesn't come easily either. So one of the big reasons why I went to the race in Hungary, the World Cup race in Hungary, right before Olympic trials, was because I felt a little uncomfortable in the pack at our open water nationals.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get another race so that way I could get comfortable being bumped around and just get used to that feeling of swimming in the pack again, because it had been a long time since I had done an open water race.
And Ari, I think another thing that's really important about the open water camps is like when we get together, we try to all have, they both brought training partners. So it's really great.
Cool.
They've both had people here to help train with them in the ocean and in the pool, but just kind of really focusing on what they need. And anytime we've gone to Worlds or anything like that, we always do an open water camp before to kind of get used to the like
conditions.
The conditions.
Yeah.
We usually talk about like the 3 C's. It's you have to get to know the course, get to know the conditions, and get to know the competition.
Yeah.
So
that's really cool. That's awesome. Okay, last question is for you, Catherine. Now, I know that you and Haley have worked together for a long time, and your work in the open water community has been so cool for me to see as you've continued to grow within this. And I know that you're just such an important part of that community. How did you first get into coaching open water, and why did you get drawn in that direction?
Yeah, I was living in Eastern North Carolina and coaching a relatively unknown athlete named Chip Peterson, and he went to World Championships in 2005, and he was really successful there. Had a great next couple years on the national level and international level as well. So I would say really I'm lucky to work with great athletes.
Awesome.
So.
Well, we are lucky to have all of you, and I'm so excited to cheer you on. I've known all 3 of you for so long. So safe travels tomorrow. So good to see you, and thanks for making time to catch up.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks, Ari.
Bye.
Bye.
We all know that swimming is the funnest sport, and now it's easier than ever to get involved. All you have to do to find a local swim club is go to swimtoday.org, type in your zip code, and all of the swim clubs in your area will pop up. So find the one nearest you, go and post on social media. Use hashtag SwimUnited. Tell us about all the friends you're meeting, the strokes that you're learning. It's easier than ever. Hope to see you in the pool.